Okay, a couple of simple moves for a couple of very common things we see in the backswing. Let's get straight into it and start with players that roll the club behind them. Now, whether you go hands in front, club behind the hands, or inside the hands, or everything goes that way, either way, the club head sort of halfway back at P2, we call this, with the shaft parallel to the ground. When the club is behind the hands, generally, not always, but generally the toe is pointing up at this point, and that means the club face is open. Open would be the club all being equal in the downswing, the face wants to point to the right at impact. Now, if you do this, but you still hit the shots you want to because you manipulate it in a certain way on the way down, fine. And like any drill tip that gets posted, they're not specific. But if you see this pattern of club roll behind, however you do that, whatever happens here, but the club face generally open, players know the face wants to point to the right and they'll compensate and generally swing steep and across. So if you see this in your backswing and your shots slice, or you have the occasional pull where you try and save the club face, then this might be for you. So first one, you won't be able to hit shots like this, but it's a good thing to feel an exaggeration. Now, it's going to feel horrible in the start position. You're going to get a stick up the side of your club. There's drills where you'll see it on the left-hand side, your lead hip. We're going to go right-hand side. So it's going to feel very uncomfortable, which is great in the setup. Now, I'm working really hard. You can see the bend in the stick here to try and have my club in a normal position. Okay, but what I definitely can't do from here with a stick like that is roll it anymore because I'm on the limit already. I can't roll it behind me unless I did something like this, which is weird. So the only way comfortably I can move this club is like this. And you'll see now the other end of the spectrum, which is great when you exaggerate stuff in the golf swing. You've got more chance of changing and correcting stuff. So the only way I can go is here, club face more down at the ground, and the head of the club is outside. Just physically with the stick there, can't get it behind me. So you can't hit shots like this, but it is a really good feel to start the backswing correctly. Let's do one where you can hit shots, which I always prefer. So we get a ball out. Total golf. This is so good, this box of tricks. You don't even need to open it for this drill. We're just going to use the box. If you haven't got one of these, Total Golf Trainer, you can use like box of golf balls, anything with a bit of weight, because we're trying to feel this change in the movement. Now, if I've got something fairly weighted behind me and I just try and roll my hands this way, it's not really moving. It doesn't go anywhere. To give it a decent shove out the way, to give me space to hit the golf ball, which is just an inch in front, okay, we need to push it back for longer and wider. By doing that action, you can see again, like we did with the stick, club head's got more chance of staying outside or at least pass through my hands, that sort of halfway back P2 checkpoint. So can't roll it inside, doesn't work, but I can give it a big shift out of the way. If I keep going, that's an improvement. And you can hit shots like this as well. So something with a bit of weight, push it out of the way, and then you still can hit shots after that. Right, so that's people that roll it in behind them. If you don't do that, something else quite common is players that don't hinge the club enough or at the wrong time. So by hinge, I mean this radial deviation, for those that like long words, with the thumbs point up in the swing. So you would have known you need this to happen at some point. Now, where does it happen? Somewhere here, usually. But what we can see a lot is it not happening at all, where players will drag the handle, which is the opposite from what we've just done. They'll drag like this, okay? And they'll not get in a decent hinge position here. And if they do hinge, it's very late and it tends to get very narrow. And once you're up here narrow, things get wide going towards impact and then narrow on the way through. So we've got to get this hinge done a little bit earlier. If anyone that drags like this, here's a couple of ways of doing it. To give yourself some momentum, rather than start from this static position and maybe lead with the hands too much and leave the club head behind, start in front of the golf ball. So start in front, I'm just keeping my posture, just opening shoulders a bit as I move my hands around. And the weight of the club, especially if you've got a wedge, so 8-on here, if you let the club head swing back, you'll get the club head going past the hands at this point. If you kept that going, holding it quite lightly, you'll let the weight of the head start to pop up. It's going to accelerate from here, go past the hands rather than get dragged, and it will pop up to a quite decent position without you thinking about it too much. Okay, and once you're there, you can keep that going with a bit more body turn, and you'll be there or thereabouts. Another way to get the feel and certainly keep some width, if you're going to throw a ball, You wouldn't think about this. You'd pick it up, you'd probably have some elbow flex, and your wrist would bend. Okay? We're going to do the same thing with the club. Normal setup. Take your lead or left hand, top hand off for right-handers. Swing it back one-handed. When I do this, I'm really isolating my arm. Nothing else is moving. So just my arm to that throw-in position. Wrist is already hinged, bent here. Right elbow's pointing down to the ground, so I'm out. Now from there, here's the move we want you to feel is this. So that's a wide swing. Lots of room here. And without thinking about it, just to get my hand in the club, I have to hinge this wrist here. So start one-handed, really isolate it. Don't want to go too far with this because then you can cheat and just grab it. We want to feel two things. One, that stretch, and also the hinge in both wrists. So try it one-handed. Can you get there and reach it? Good. There's not much more to go after that. And then can you get to that same position with two hands? And third go, have a shot. Always keep that shot after a couple of drills like that, as slow as you like. So two different issues on the backswing, two different ways of curing, helping each. See which one you like. Let me know if they work. And yeah, any other questions or comments, leave them below.